They told you it was just a moment. They told you it was respect between two veterans. They told you to watch it, feel something, and move on. But if you actually paid attention on Raw, January 26, 2026, you know that was a lie, and I'm already warning you right now, if this moment didn't hit you in the chest, you weren't really watching. Because what happened between AJ Styles and CM Punk wasn't nostalgia. It wasn't fan service. It wasn't a quiet, feel-good clip meant to trend for 24 hours and disappear. It was a reckoning. And depending on how WWE handles what comes next, it could either become one of the most meaningful moments of this generation, or one of the biggest wasted opportunities in modern wrestling history. So before we go any further, let me ask you something simple. Don't overthink it, just answer honestly in the comments. Did that moment feel real to you, or did it feel staged? Because that answer says a lot about how you see wrestling today. AJ Styles stood in that ring like a man who has given everything to this business. Scars you can see, scars you can't. Years shaved off his body so the rest of us could argue online about star ratings. And across from him, CM Punk, the most polarizing, complicated, stubborn, brilliant contradiction pro wrestling has produced in decades. A man some fans will never forgive, and others will defend until their last breath. And for just a few seconds, the noise disappeared. No chants, no music, no commentary trying to tell you what to feel. Just two men, standing in a ring, carrying decades of history that WWE never gave us on screen, until now. And that's why this moment mattered. Let's be real for a second, and this might make some of you angry, but good, that's the point. For years, fans begged for real emotion in wrestling. Not catchphrases, not forced smiles, not "this is awesome" chants on autopilot. We wanted moments that felt earned. And when WWE finally gives us one, when they finally let silence breathe, some people immediately rushed to downplay it. Overrated, didn't go anywhere, just two old guys hugging. If that's all you saw, then I don't know what show you were watching. Quick question for the comments. Did you notice who looked away first, AJ or Punk? Because that detail matters more than you think. AJ Styles didn't need to say anything. His body language said it all. This is a man who has reinvented himself over and over just to stay relevant in a system that chews people up and replaces them without blinking. TNA legend, indie icon, New Japan ace, WWE main eventer, AJ Styles is living proof that talent alone isn't enough, you have to survive. And standing across from CM Punk, you could see the weight of something unspoken. Because Punk represents the road AJ didn't take, walking away, burning bridges, saying no when the machine says fall in line. And whether you love Punk or hate him, you can't deny this. He changed the way wrestlers think about power. So ask yourself this, and yeah, I want this in the comments too. If you were AJ Styles, would you respect CM Punk or resent him? Now let's talk about CM Punk for a second, because this is where things get uncomfortable. WWE has spent years rewriting his story, softening the edges, framing his return as a redemption arc. But Raw didn't give us redemption. It gave us reflection. Punk didn't look like a man chasing spotlight. He didn't look like someone desperate to prove he still belongs. He looked like someone finally at peace with the damage he's caused and the damage done to him. That pause before he spoke, that wasn't hesitation, that was restraint. And when Punk put his hand on AJ's shoulder, it wasn't a legend moment. It was acknowledgement of sacrifice, of loss, of a brotherhood that exists whether the company wants to promote it or not. Let me ask you something and be honest. Do you trust CM Punk when he shows vulnerability, or do you think it's always calculated? Here's where things get really interesting. Because WWE didn't follow this moment with fireworks. They didn't cut to a hype package. They didn't immediately tease a match. They let it sit. And that silence is dangerous in the best way possible. Because now the fans are doing the work. Some of you want one last match. Some of you want them to team up. Some of you think this was a quiet goodbye. But what if it was none of those? What if this moment wasn't about the future, but about closure? And here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. Wrestling doesn't know how to end stories anymore. Everything has to lead to something. Everything has to be Monetized. But this felt final. So I need to know, drop it below. Do you want AJ Styles vs CM Punk, or should this moment stay untouched? Let's rewind for a second. Think about how rare this actually is. Two top-tier stars. No betrayal. No swerve. No cheap pop. Just respect. In a business built on conflict, this was unity. And that's why it hit harder than any chair shot ever could. AJ didn't posture. Punk didn't grandstand. They met as equals. Not characters. Not brands. Men who survived the same storm in different ways. And if you're someone who's followed wrestling for more than 5 minutes, you felt that. Trivial question, don't skip it. How long do you think that moment actually lasted in real time? 5 seconds? 10? Longer? Because those seconds felt like forever. But here's where I'm going to make some of you mad. If WWE doesn't protect this moment, they will ruin it. If next week this turns into a rushed storyline with distractions, interference, and buzzwords, then what we witnessed on Raw becomes meaningless. Because moments like this don't need escalation, they need respect. And history tells us WWE struggles with that. So here's a challenge for you. If you were booking this, what would you do next? Nothing at all or something huge? There is no wrong answer, but there are consequences. One of the most powerful parts of that segment was what wasn't said. No mention of contracts. No jabs at the past. No insider references spoon-fed to the audience. Just subtext. And wrestling fans are starving for that. We don't need everything explained. We don't need our hands held. We need trust. And for once, WWE trusted the audience. So ask yourself this. Did that moment make you respect WWE more, or did it make you nervous they'll mess it up? AJ Styles has always been the workhorse. The one who proves himself every night. CM Punk has always been the disruptor. The one who questions the system. Together, they represent the two sides of professional wrestling's soul. And on January 26, 2026, those sides finally looked each other in the eye. No ego, no animosity, just understanding. And if you didn't feel something watching that, then maybe wrestling isn't the problem. Maybe we forgot how to slow down. Quick comment check. Where were you when you watched this live, replay, clips, or highlights? Because that changes how it hits. This wasn't about who's better. This wasn't about legacy points. It was about time. Time running out. Time well spent. Time you can't get back. AJ knows it. Punk knows it. And now, we know it. So here's the last thing I'll leave you with, and yeah, this one matters. 10 years from now, do you think we'll still be talking about this moment, or will it fade into the background like so many others? Because that answer depends on all of us. On how loudly we talk about it, how fiercely we defend it, and how much we demand that wrestling treats moments like this with the respect they deserve. If this moment made you feel something, anger, nostalgia, respect, sadness, share this video. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but because moments like this are why wrestling matters in the first place. And I want to know down in the comments, AJ Styles or CM Punk, who does this moment belong to? Let the rumble begin, because here's the thing nobody is saying out loud. That moment didn't belong to AJ Styles. And it didn't belong to CM Punk either. It belonged to the fans who stayed. The ones who watched wrestling when it was embarrassing to admit you watched wrestling. The ones who defended these two men during the lows, not just the highlights. The ones who remember when neither of them were supposed to make it. And that's why this moment is dangerous. Because it reminds people why they fell in love with wrestling in the first place, and once fans remember that, they start demanding more. So let me ask you something real simple, no overthinking. How old were you when you first saw AJ Styles wrestle? Because I promise you, your answer says everything about how this moment hit. AJ Styles came into this business without a machine behind him. No golden ticket. No guaranteed spotlight. He built his legacy one bump at a time. CM Punk, he forced the machine to acknowledge him or break trying. And on Raw, January 26, 2026, those two philosophies collided, not in violence, but in understanding. That's rare. Because wrestling usually only knows how to communicate through pain. But this was quiet. And quiet moments are the hardest to pull off because you can't hide behind explosions or surprises. You either believe it or you don't. So I want to know, did the crowd reaction enhance the moment or distract from it? Let's talk about the crowd for a second, because they deserve credit and criticism. At first, there was confusion. No chance. No hijacking. No what, nonsense. Just people realizing, oh, this is something different. And then came the applause, not the loud kind, but the respectful kind. The kind you hear when fans know they're watching something that can't be recreated. That's when you knew WWE accidentally did something right. But here's the uncomfortable part. How long until the crowd forgets? Because wrestling fans are brutal. We move on fast. We chase the next thing. So ask yourself this. Are we capable of letting a moment breathe, or do we always need the next payoff? Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, AJ Styles and CM Punk could still have a match. Yes, it would sell. Yes, it would be historic. But would it add anything? That's the question nobody wants to answer. Because sometimes the match is worse than the moment. Sometimes the bell ruins the magic. And WWE has a long history of turning poetry into product. So here's a spicy one for the comments. Would a match between AJ and Punk elevate this moment, or cheapen it? Don't dodge it. Look at AJ's face during that segment again. Not the smile, the eyes. That wasn't fan service joy. That was relief. Relief that his story is understood. That his grind meant something. That even someone as complicated as CM Punk recognizes the sacrifice. And Punk looked lighter. Like a man who finally said something he's been carrying for years without opening his mouth. This wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't apology. It was acceptance. And that's powerful. So here's a small but telling question. Do you think this was planned months in advance or something that evolved organically? One of the most frustrating things about modern wrestling is how little trust there is in silence. Someone always has to talk. Someone always has to interrupt. But this segment trusted stillness. And the fact that it aired on Raw, not a premium live event, not a special, makes it even more insane. They didn't advertise it as historic. They just let it happen. Which raises another question. Was this WWE taking a risk, or was it WWE finally understanding its audience? Let's be honest. AJ Styles is closer to the end than the beginning. CM Punk knows that better than anyone. This wasn't a promise of tomorrow. It was a recognition of yesterday. And wrestling doesn't honor its past nearly enough. We usually wait until someone retires, or worse. So seeing two active competitors acknowledge their shared history before it's over, that hits differently. Drop this one in the comments. Did this moment feel like a goodbye or a thank you? Here's where the anger comes in. Because moments like this expose how many stories WWE has failed to tell over the years. How many interactions we never got because of ego, politics, or bad timing. AJ and Punk never needed a feud to make this work. They needed honesty. And honesty is rare in a scripted business. So if WWE messes this up, if they turn it into a rushed angle or a forgettable match, fans will remember what could have been. And that disappointment lasts longer than hype. So let me ask you, what's worse, never getting the match or getting a bad one? Another detail people are overlooking? Commentary didn't oversell it. No forced narrative. No emotional buzzwords. Just space. That alone tells you how carefully this was handled. Which makes me wonder, was this moment more for the locker room than the audience? Because wrestlers were watching too. And they saw two veterans model something rarely seen in this industry: mutual respect without ego. That matters. AJ Styles doesn't need flowers. CM Punk doesn't need redemption. What they shared was something much rarer. Recognition. Recognition that wrestling is brutal. That it takes more than talent. That surviving long enough to have moments like this is an achievement in itself. So I want you to answer this honestly. Which career would you rather have, AJ's consistency or Punk's impact? As fans, we love chaos. But sometimes the quiet moments are the loudest. And Raw, January 26, 2026, proved that wrestling doesn't always need violence to be powerful. It needs truth. So if this moment stuck with you, if you rewatched it, replayed it, or thought about it after the show, then it did its job. And if you're still here watching this video, you're part of why moments like this matter. Final question, and yeah, this one's important. Do you think we'll ever see another moment like this, or was this lightning in a bottle? Let me know. Because this is Ring Rumble and we don't forget moments like this.